So if you are interested in these projects, please do reach out to us and we will be able to point you in the right direction.
Stephen Asime, the policy director to Private Sector Foundation, underscored the push for meetings, incentives, conferencing and exhibitions means for a comprehensive equability of the Ugandan tourism sector, as well as implementing a special tourism fund.
We badly need money. We need money, Banange. We need cash. Hotels are suffering. Restaurants are suffering. Mr. Maitum, you gave a very good presentation on accessing money to them. But companies are crashing. I'm in charge of policy and business development. The statistics we are getting are very tough. So in terms of equitability, we badly need a Marshall Plan like the Americans employed in the EU. Because unless money comes into the economy, it's going to crash. Now, for purposes of planning, and Doctor, you talked about being scientific. Let's be scientific about tourism. Tourism has the highest earning capacity of any sector in the world. It actually earns 2.5 times more than any sector. When a tourist arrives, even before he comes, they pay visa money at the airport. They are transported by a cab. They get to Sheraton, they order for a beer, they pay for lunch, they go to National Theatre, buy crafts, they use a tour vehicle. I mean, the value chain is incredible. I was in Mombasa 2 weeks ago for a conference where you participated on agribusiness. We are trying to bring, a discussion with our brothers and sisters in Kenya. I was in a hotel which I won't mention. It has close to 500 rooms capacity. And being the inquisitive person I am, I decided to go to the manager and ask about occupancy. Boss, the hotel was full because of mice. The Kenyan government has taken a deliberate policy to ensure that SOPs, number one, are observed. But two, let's create some business traction around the tourist areas so that they can increase capacity, the jobs are created. Kenya Airways was full, Jambo was full, the Standard Gauge Railway was full. There was action in Mombasa because government took a deliberate policy to ensure that there's a resuscitation of the economy. So can we please think proactively? We are seated here, we have done sanitizer, let us start to push a mice policy domestically. Private sector should grab for that. There's a lot of government here, so people don't feel it. I think Mr. Mgereko knows that. We need to push a deliberate policy for people to do mice. Now, when you push mice, you push spending, and tourism is measured in the two S's. There is stay and spend, there is volumes and value. I can guarantee you, the moment there is a push, the money immediately trickles down. So sodas are drunk, so you have VAT, beer, food, transporters, insurance. Everybody starts to get a piece of the action. So
we have a fundamental problem which we have to discuss. And Mr. PS, I think you should call a program working group. Call all of us, call UPDF, call everybody. That's why we went for programs, that we bring everybody together who are supposed to deliver a result, working together to deliver that result. So if you call that meeting, we will discuss these issues. You cannot expect a long-term project to be financed by short-term financing. Fundamentally flawed. That's why we are pushing in the Planning Authority to put money in this institution. You know that I have been fighting that fight for a very long time. And this institution is now getting money. Unfortunately, we still need this institution to get an extra $1 trillion shillings. For them to give us credit at 8 and below, because 12 is too high. That's the truth.
World Tourism Day is observed on 27th September annually to raise awareness about the significance of tourism and how it affects social, political, cultural and economic values globally. The day is marked to highlight the importance of tourism sector in promoting and preserving cultures and heritage around the world. Benson Mumbere, Smart 24.
On Monday, the 27th of September 2021, Uganda joined the rest of the world on commemorating the World Tourism Day. And the theme that Uganda had in commemorating this particular day to honor the tourism sector was under Tourism for Inclusive Growth. UTP, that is the Uganda Tourism Board, has since 13 years ago grown the number of tourist arrivals by 78% from 844,000 in 2008 to 1.5 in 2018 to 2019. This is slightly above the global growth rates of 63% in the same period. As a result, the sector foreign exchange earnings have nearly tripled. But however, due to the pandemic, you've actually realized that there has been a slight drop. Not a slight drop, meanwhile, there has been a serious drop with the fact that the foreign tourists that were actually coming through had stopped coming because of the limitation and because of the travel restrictions in the different countries. The Executive Director, Joseph Muvala, has called on the officials from Uganda Tourism Board to prioritize consistent, sustainable growth, then after inclusive growth, urging them to invest in development and marketing in that particular aspect. Now, the World Tourism Day is observed on 27th September annually to raise awareness and about the significance of tourism and how it affects social, political, culture, and economic values globally. The day is marked to highlight the importance of the tourism sector in promoting and preserving cultures and the heritages around the world. On to the next one. The Uganda Airlines has signed a memorandum of understanding with the Federation of Motorsport in Uganda geared towards developing the Ugandan Airlines. Jennifer Bamturaki, the director of Uganda Airlines, asserts that a 15% travel discount has been offered to the Federation of the Motorsport. This understanding was enriched in Kampala. More of this story.
The revival of the Uganda airline is another story that caught the attention of every Ugandan since after the departure of the former president Amin Dada. Since 2018, the government of Uganda, under the leadership of His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, decided to revive the airline career. Currently, Uganda Airlines is doing its best to revamp its status, and on that note, therefore, the Uganda Airlines has signed a memorandum of understanding between Uganda Sport Federation, and in this partnership, the Uganda Airlines will offer a 15% travel discount. The Motorsport Federation members, as Jennifer Bamturaki, the ED of Uganda Airlines, asserts.
Partnership will be mutually beneficial to both the airline and the federation as we jointly market the destination Uganda. As we support each other, we will definitely be flying the PAL, the crane, into many of the places where you'll be competing. With this partnership, we are positioned as the airline of choice for the fraternity, and we intend to continue to support it, especially on all the routes that we fly. We've offered a 15% discount on our tickets for the drivers and the bikers.
Robert Ntambi, the Assistant Commissioner of Air Transport in the Ministry of Works and Transport, postulates that the partnership is foundation to the growth of the airline.
Witness the beginning of a long-lasting partnership between Uganda Airlines and the Motorsport Federation of Uganda. This partnership is one of the many that signifies the continued growth of Uganda Airlines in the Ugandan aviation industry. Having Uganda Airlines as the official carrier of motorsport not only opens doors for the airline, but also to Uganda as a destination. With the current and continued push to buy Uganda, build Uganda, Bubu.
The Memorandum of Understanding comes at a time when the Uganda airline is launching new routes of flights, which, according to Bamturaki, is a meter of progress.
We are the most friendly airline. The hospitality, the crew on board, and many of you can attest to it. And it's with great pride that I mention that we will be flying to Dubai starting the 4th of October. We'll be flying 3 times a week. Our first flight, we will have a number of you coming down with us. Thank you very much for supporting the national carrier. Thank you for supporting us. We are very keen on expanding and growing and connecting Uganda, especially to the many destinations.
Parismina country will support our economic development, will support business, will support hotel industry, to mention but a few. I request these federations in motorsports that you do not only go to people in Kampala here. We need you far in the villages. We are now targeting talent identification in the youth. Please come and approach our schools. Come to schools, there is good talent. Come on the ground. Help people who would have been street kids to be mentored and they can join the sports department. And train sports that is holistic. Consider the cognitive domain. Let the child be able, the athlete or the sportsman be able to use the brain and use it very well.
Regarding cost, Bamturaki asserts that the cost will vary depending on a number of factors.
You know, the costs vary depending on what time you book. But for Dubai, we have a promotional, which is $398, taxes in. But then we also have a promotion on baggage. We're doing 3 pieces instead of the 2 that normal other airlines do, that normally the industry will carry.
The Uganda Airlines, as we talk, is still on the verge of growth. As we support Uganda Airlines, we have supported the entire nation. Fly Uganda and build Uganda. Robert Tambi, the Assistant Commissioner of Air Transport in the Ministry of Works and Transport, postulates that the partnership is foundation to the growth of the airline. Now, this comes after the revival of the Uganda Airlines as another story that caught the attention of every Ugandan after the departure of former Idi Amin Dada. And of course, regarding the cost, Bamturaki asserts that the cost will vary depending on the number of factors. Let's head to the next one. Now, President Museveni and Owiny Dolo have clashed over bail conditions. This was This was during the 4th annual memorial lecture of the former Chief Justice Benedicto Kiwanuka held at the Judiciary Headquarters in Kampala, where Museveni was the chief guest. It was organized under the theme Administration of Justice in Uganda through the years. More of this report.
Stand by.
President Yoweri Museveni and Chief Justice Owiny Dolo have clashed on the issues of granting bail to persons accused of capital offences pending determination of their cases.
Now, I have got the record. If you go back, your leadership, Odoki, and all of you, you go and check. When they were going around, the population were saying there should be no bail for certain offenses. I have checked in the minutes of the Constitutional Review Commission of his lordship, Benjamin Odoki. The people did not want bail for certain offenses because that's our traditional justice. With the Banyankore, there's no way you can kill a person and you beat about the bush. Yes, they can see what is butandu, accidental killing. They can see it. But reckless killing, like the one of Zabroni who made himself a jerrycan of beer, intentional killing must be fully accounted for.
This was at the 4th annual memorial lecture of the former Justice Benedicto Kiwanuka, held at the judicial headquarters in Kampala, where M7 was the chief guest. It was organized under the theme Administration of Justice in Uganda Through Theirs.
Always take cognizance of the fact that Chief Justice Ben Kiwanuka has set the bar for the administration of justice very high for us. Therefore, in the exercise of our mandate, we must always be driven by the need to respect and protect the rights of everyone, advance the rule of law, and promote the cause of justice in accordance with the oath we each took, namely, to do right to all manner of people in accordance with the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda as by law established, and in accordance with the laws and usage of the Republic of Uganda without fear or favor, affection, or ill will.
Addressing guests at the event, Owunyidolo said bail is a constitutional right which is supposed to be either granted or denied upon the discretion of the presiding judicial officer, who should also exercise that discretion judiciously. Owunyidolo said a judicial officer cannot wake up from the wrong or good side of the bed and decide whether to grant or deny bail to an accused person because it's a constitutional right. The officer has to grant upon considering a number of circumstances, for instance, if one will abscond from trial or not, among others.
The Constitution gives discretion to judicial officers to grant bail. But the law itself and decided cases abound that the exercise of discretion must be judiciously done. A judicial officer does not wake up from the wrong side of the bed and deny bail to an applicant, or wake up from the right side of the bed and grant bail to all and sundry.
He added, however, that he has heard President Museveni on a number of occasions having a different view on the right to bail, saying that the judicial officers should remember the oath they take to dispense justice without fear or favor.
To the judicial official or officer satisfying himself or herself that the applicant will actually turn up for hearing when the time comes. But there are many other factors. It is the duty of a judicial officer to look at the entire circumstance when considering bail. There are instances, for example, where a grant of bail may work adversely against the applicant. We know of cases where people have taken up the law into their hands and consigned beneficiaries of bail to their graves.
According to Museveni, who spoke very tough on the matter, granting bail is a provocation which will not be accepted. He gave examples of people who were killed by mob justice, one in Arua and another survived in Gomba district, saying that when court keep giving bail on capital offenses, societies become hopeless and start killing people who are charged with such capital crimes.
According to Museveni, who spoke very tough on the matter, granting bail is a provocation which will not be accepted. He gave examples of people who were killed by mob justice, one in Arua and another surveyor in Gomba district, saying that when court keeps giving bail on capital offenses, societies become hopeless and start killing people who are charged with such capital crimes. Let's cross the border now and head to the international scene. First, from Kenya, active mobile money accounts have hit 34.7 million in Kenya. The data covering the quarter ended in June 2021 shows the number of active mobile money subscriptions rose by 4.7% from 33.1 million at the end of March. More of this report.
The number of active mobile money accounts in the country has now reached 34.7% according to the new data from the Communication Authority of Kenya, CA. The data covering the quarter ended in June 2021 shows that the number of active mobile money subscribers rose by 4.7% from 33.1 million at the end of March. This means that more and more Kenyans are actively using mobile money services, with telecom operators measuring activity by usage of the service per month. The CA report has attributed the steady rise in mobile money usage to the increased uptake of digital payments by customers, an effort to contain the spread of COVID-19. At the same time, the continued elevation of mobile money services is against the end of a waiver by the Central Bank of Kenya, CBK, which had allowed for free cash transfers among customers for amount not exceeding 1,000 Kenyan shillings. The continued rise of the service after the end of waiver shows increased preference for mobile money services by Kenyans irrespective of the costs involved.
At the same time, the continued elevation of mobile money services is against the end of a waiver by the Central Bank of Kenya, which had allowed for free cash transfers among customers for amounts not exceeding 1,000 Kenyan shillings. The continued rise of the service after the end of the waiver shows that increased preference for mobile money services by Kenyans, irrespective of the costs involved. Let's say to Tanzania, as Tanzania and Kenya work on reviving COVID-19 ravaged tourism. The two countries will form a committee to identify how to address the hinges holding back the growth of the key economic sector in tourism. More of this report.
Tanzania and Kenya have agreed to come closer in the tourism sector. The two countries will form a committee to identify how to address hinges holding back the growth of the key economic sector. The committee will in turn suggest ways to ensure the two states, the East African region in general, attracted more tourists. This was agreed during a high-level meeting of ministers and cabinet secretaries responsible for tourism and senior officials from both sides in Arusha on Friday. The committee of technical experts will prepare a report on how to improve cooperation of the two countries, which will lead in attracting visitors from abroad. The recommendations would be forwarded to the ministers and be followed by drafting of a memorandum of understanding on the same. While speaking at the meeting, the Minister for Natural Resources and Tourism, Damas Ndubaro, said Tanzania was determined to work with its northern neighbor in tourism development. Once recommendations are made, we ministers will meet to agree on the way forward, he told reporters at the Ngorongoro Tourism Tower. Dr. Ndubaro said tourism was a key sector for the economies of both Tanzania and Kenya despite the outbreak of COVID-19. For Tanzania, the sector contributed 21.5% of the gross domestic product (GDP) and 25% of forex generation prior to the outbreak of the pandemic.
The Tanzanian tourism sector contributed 21.5% of the gross domestic product and 25% of forex generation prior to the outbreak of the pandemic. That brings us to the end of our news hour at this particular moment. I will return with more in regards to the topical discussion in regards to the FMU and the Uganda Airlines. Keep it SMB.